Michael, you'll never guess what happened to me this week. You will never guess the new wrinkle in Jeff's life that happened this week. Do you want to take a guess? I know I just told you that you will never guess it, but would you like to take a guess about the particular problem that I am facing in my life right now? It's weird. It's uncommon. It's not something you hear people say. It's not like, oh man, I ran out of lemonade last week, or like, fuck that boss sucks in Dark Souls. It's like, it's a weird thing. And not body related. I'll give you that one hint. It's not. I don't have ringworm again. That's not the problem.
Okay, cool. A balloon tried to kill you.
That would be an interesting problem, but no. My dishwasher suddenly stopped working in my house.
Oh God.
Yeah, I feel like summer in Texas is just cursed. But the one place that I can go to relieve, to get out of the curse zone, is the Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select, and I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mike.
And yes, there's no curses here. I've banned all of the. Have you ever? Do you believe in like internet cursed images, Michael, or like that Zelda cart that's got like a ghost in it, or the paranormal in general?
I believe in them.
Yeah,
but I love them.
Okay.
I do believe in the paranormal, but that's just because I'm a big fan of Ghostbusters, and I was very susceptible as a child.
And you can't want to be a Ghostbuster if ghosts aren't real. So obviously ghosts need to be real. Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got an interesting group of news. I'm hoping that there's enough news this week that we're actually going to get to do a semi-normal Rage Select podcast. And normal Rage Select podcast starts with talking about what we did last week. And I did something really weird last week. I read The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. Just because I was none of my Captain Space Pants books are out right now. I feel like I went through COVID and that they had a bunch lined up and then they ran out and they just were like, I got to stay at home. I can't write science fiction books. I don't know what the logic in that is, but so I was like, I've never read any Raymond Chandler before. I'm going to read The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. And then this afternoon I watched the Humphrey Bogart movie, which I've seen a billion times. And it was interesting. It was very strange. Big Sleep was written like 1939, I believe. So,
oh wow,
it was really strange. The word "okay" was spelled O-K-E-Y in the book. So they were all just saying "okey, okey, okey." Like when they were meant to say "okay," they were saying "okey." And there was like a part where the guy was talking about halls, and it was spelled like H-A-I-L, like hail. Like it went down the hailway instead of hallway. But I could say, have you ever read any hard-boiled Seamus stories of private dicks in their big coats going around putting the screws to a bunch of mooks, that kind of thing?
Not in a long time. I used to read them every now and then when I was a teenager, but I kind of went into I was reading Dexter a lot because it was more of like the modern kind of like weird mystery kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also really got into Dirk Gently.
Okay.
He's all holistic.
Those are relatively. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like. I did notice that, so when people complain about how they ruined the book, right? Like, oh man, you should read the book. It's so much. Oh, you should read the manga. It's so much better. And I was watching The Big Sleep today, and I was like, The Big Sleep. I got to pull up I got to find out. The Big Sleep was made the movie adaptation was made. It's Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, right?
Okay, yeah.
It was made a bajillion years ago. And they shoved this romance. 1946 was when The Big Sleep came out. They shoved this big romance subplot into the book. The guy in the book, he's just these dizzy dames, none of them know what's going on, and they're all mean to him because he won't make out with them. But in the movie, every woman wants to sleep with Humphrey Bogart. There's a part in The Big Sleep where Philip Marlowe takes a cab somewhere, and the cabbie's this kid, and he follows this guy, and then he gives him a card. And in the movie, the cab driver is Esmeralda Villalobos from Pulp Fiction. It's this hot girl, and when she gives him the card, she's like, yeah, give me a call if you ever need a ride anytime. And he's like, day or night? And she's like, I prefer nights. I work during the day. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
It's a case of the not gays, Jeff. You know this.
well, no, I like, there's a difference between the not gays and like thirsty AF. Like, there's a point where the dude goes into a bookstore and he's like watching another bookstore and it starts raining. And the implication is that like they don't close for an hour. So this lady that runs the bookstore closes up shop, does that movie thing where she takes off her glasses and takes down her hair, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, she's not an Uggo anymore now that her hair is down and her glasses are off. And the implication is that they fucking bone. And then when he leaves, he pats her on the shoulder and says, "See ya, pal." And I was just like, what's going on in this movie?
Oh my God. See you, pal?
Yeah, it's like
That's what I should say the next time I have a date. See you, pal. And just leave.
I just watched Humphrey Bogart friend zone the nerd at the bookstore, and I'm just like, what's going on? And there's like this whole subplot in the book where this girl gets her picture taken, and in the book she's like naked, and in the movie she's just got clothes on, and so it doesn't make any sense because you're like, why does anybody care? It's like a picture of a girl.
I saw my ankles, Jeff.
Yeah, it's like a picture of a girl sitting in a chair and she's drugged, and I'm like, and the guy there's like, Seamus, you better give us 5 G's if you want those pictures back. And I'd be like, fucking keep them, like put them in a frame and send them to my grandma. I don't care.
She just looks asleep.
Yeah,
So peaceful, I guess.
anyway, The Big Sleep is a good book, and The Big Sleep is a good movie, and if you've never seen it, you should go. I think I always remember liking The Big Sleep more, but people telling me The Maltese Falcon was better, but it's been a long time since I've seen The Maltese Falcon. That has Peter Lorre in it, which...
Oh, okay.
Do you know who Peter Lorre is? He's that
Vaguely.
Casablanca. He's the wormy guy. He's a Rick. You've got to help me, Rick. Like, he's in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've only seen The Maltese Falcon, of like the big gritty detective movies from back then.
Yeah. It's cool. It's worth like kind of just, they don't, they obviously just don't make them like that anymore.
No, because everything went into color.
Well, that's true. Michael, what did you do last week?
So the main thing that I've been doing since, because Devil May Cry, the HD collection was on sale last month. And so I ended up buying that, and I ended up buying DMC, which is the remake, on sale too. And so I decided I was going to play all of Devil May Cry through, from 1 to 5, and then the reboot probably to see if the baggage from my youth of hating the reboot is now past. Hopefully, to see if maybe I'll end up liking it more.
I was just about to give you a bunch of crap for playing this worthless old nostalgic thing, but I just spent 10 minutes talking about Humphrey Bogart and a fucking book written in 1939. So I don't think I got a leg to stand on this week.
No, not in this case. The other thing is I watched Superman and Lois, because that started last week, as well as this. There was one this week as well, and I'm liking it so far. It's an interesting thing to do with them, especially outside of comics, because in comics they've already have sort of explored this idea of Superman as a dad, and I really like the idea of live action exploring that, especially in a TV show format. And it's still full of CW type drama, but it mostly involves the kids when it comes to that sort of thing.
Okay.
Whereas the Superman stuff is pretty good so far. So Lois's dad's kind of weird, to be honest. Like, I don't know, he's hard on Clark a lot, but Lois is great. Like I really like most of the characters. The few characters I don't like are designed to not be liked, so I think they're doing a good job.
Okay. That was, but see, okay, I wanted to watch that, but then the problem that I found was that it's like, what is it on? It's on one of the dumb services, right? Like,
It's on the CW.
Oh, you have to like buy does the CW have a streaming service, or is that part of like Peacock, or what's the?
No, they have an app. They have a CW app, and I've just been watching it that way because they put them up for free streaming the next day
with commercials.
Yeah, they have the commercials and stuff.
Oh.
The app didn't work yesterday, and it was a pain in the ass because it kept rewinding because it does that thing where like it goes from HD to 480 and then back and forth, and so it kept rewinding every couple seconds to reevaluate itself, and then it just froze. And then I had to fucking essentially reset my TV 4 times because it kept freezing. But luckily the second episode worked really well this morning, so I have no fucking idea what's happening with that. But yeah, that's the only way of watching it legally is that way, because they, for some reason, were like, we don't need Hulu or any of those guys. We're just going to have our CW app. And so they don't put them on anything until after the season's done.
Okay.
And then they throw them on Netflix after that.
Yeah. I'm really interested because I'd like to watch. I know that I'm going to need something Superman related after what is it? Not the next week, but the week after, when Snyder Cut comes out. I'd like to have like a big bowl. It's like when you eat hot peppers, right? You have like milk there. I need the milk of Superman after I get done eating all the spicy Zack Snyder peppers to just kill that shit in my mouth. So it would be nice to have a wholesome Superman show that, you know, only nerds like, because only nerds like old, dumb, wholesome American Superman. Not American, I guess, kind of American, but
the plots has that sort of thing where he goes back, because they go back to Smallville because they're living in Smallville now. So it tries to do that, like the differences of American small towns right now and the shit they're dealing with, and I'm like, that's kind of nice.
He should open up like a Kryptonian food cart, like a Kryptonian food truck, and everybody in Smallville, they'll just be like, what's Krypton? And it'll be like, my aunt was from Krypton. She taught me all about Kryptonian cuisine. It's mostly crystals. It's fusion though, so it's like a burrito, but it's got like crystals, but then also like a mango chutney, and you gain all the knowledge of the universe when you eat it. Also, you get some powers for a little while. I don't know what's up with that.
That'll be $49.99.
That's right. I would pay $49.99 for a burrito that gave me superpowers.
I would too. Yeah.
Shit.
That sounds rad.
I pay $4.99.
I recommend it so far.
Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, I tell you what. Let's see how much news we could squeeze into the next potentially 33 minutes before maybe I can get a COVID vaccine. I don't know. We got a timer here. It's going to be a weird day on the Rage Select podcast.
No, yeah. It's already kind of weird.
All right, so today last week we got the whole Mithra, Pyra added to Smash Brothers. Everybody's favorite characters from everybody's favorite franchise getting added to Smash Brothers. It was a fan favorite. There were no downvotes whatsoever. And today we got the 36-minute, like, super in-depth Mr. Sakurai presents, like, let me tell you. I was trying to think when I was watching this how I remember complaining a few years back the first time that they had one of these, and he went into such excruciating detail about like how they were like, also some other updates. We changed this thing that happens in the background of one stage, and we're using this soundtrack file instead of this one. But I was trying to think, Capcom doesn't do this when we saw like a few weeks back, they put out the Dan trailer, right? And it was just like, Dan's in here. It's Dan. You figure out the moves. Whereas here, it's like a 40-minute YouTube video of the guy telling you what happens when you press like down in the A button and like what the various costume colors that you can equip are.
That's the thing, because Capcom's like their version of in-depth isn't even just that trailer, because sometimes they'll be like, well, this is what Dan does, and they'll show it for like a minute, but the thing is they never last any longer than like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But a whole like 40 minutes kind of thing. Sakurai will be like, this is how we made her hair this specific color, and then it moves in this specific way kind of thing. It's like, we don't need to know any of that, but goddamn, you're going into it.
Like, he spent like 5 minutes talking about how he didn't write the script for the trailer that revealed Pyra/Mithra because it was a Monolith game, and he figured like they write JRPGs, they should write the script for the reveal segment. I'm like, why do I need to know this, Mr. Sakurai?
That explains why that reveal is kind of lame.
Oh, okay, all right. So did you get a chance? Did you watch some of this? Did you watch?
I watched some of it. Some of it was really interesting when he's really showing off the differences in speed between the two, as well as the way that the special has like a very unique kind of way of activating that, like even if you miss, you might hit somebody else kind of thing. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, basically you're able to switch between them at will, and then Pyra is like fire and stronger, and Mithra is like faster and she's kind of like light.
It's like a lightning thing.
Yeah, like a
light or something.
So I don't know. I mean, like we're not going to spend too long on here because like I don't know anything about these characters. Two, I don't even know anybody who knows anything about these characters.
I don't know anybody who does either.
They seem like pretty generic, like your generic Smash sword person from a Nintendo franchise that, like, I don't know. You know, Sephiroth had some kind of interesting weirdness with like his range and some of the abilities that he was able to use. These seem like really standard characters, with the only big thing of them being the ability. Well, first off, the Pyra seems to be a real risk reward, like high damage, but like leaves you really open, slow wind up. Like a very hard hitting, like the ability to switch between the two of them at will is kind of cool. But outside of that, like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if I went online, like, somebody would just whoop my ass with them in 4 seconds, because online Smash Brothers is like a hell pit that I can't.
It is.
I can't compete in there. I can just watch. I like to watch other people compete and go, okay, you guys like this game way more than I do. They look, I mean, you know, but the character models are nice. The effects are nice. The Smash is nice. I mean, this is just one of those, like they did show the whole thing. So it was Min, Steve, Sephiroth, Pyramithra, and then there's 2 more slots in the Season 2 pass. This is probably the least interesting character in that pass so far. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I agree. Because the thing is that, like, with Min, it's like, well, it's a new franchise, and that's really cool. With Steve and Alex, that's a huge franchise all over the world, so that's a big deal. Sephiroth is the super nostalgia pick that, you know, everybody was like, oh, another sword guy, but, you know, Sephiroth, you know, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then when they came out with this, they're like, do we know anybody who's played Xenoblade Chronicles 2? And I don't know a single person, kind of thing. And it's like, well, fuck, I don't care either. Kind of thing, is that so process?
Yeah. There's dozens of them, Michael. There's like 14 people who played Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
They really want people to want to play Xenoblade 2.
Yeah.
Now you know how it works.
Yep. Let's see. So do we have any wild speculation for, like, who's next? I know I like to ask this. I like to just update it. Who's next? My pick is Lady Dimitrescu. I think that they're going to put her in Smash before Resident Evil 8 is even out. She's going to be so tall, the screen's going to have to zoom out to see her, and she's just going to sit on people and step on them.
They'll just make her a Mii fighter. You know what they do. Just make Mii fighters out of everybody.
That would be the biggest insult. The Mii fighters, like the shortest characters in the game. Like, oh God.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing about Mii fighters, because we didn't bring it up, but at the end of this video, they showed that they made Mii fighters of the Monster Hunter characters, which here's the thing about Smash Brothers fans, is that the Mii fighter, it means that they're not getting their own character, kind of thing. So it's like a death sentence kind of thing. Either that or they're an assist trophy, like with what happened with me with Wonder Red, when they're like, oh, he's in the game, but he's an assist trophy. I'm like, you fuckers. And so, you know, like, I was looking at the Crash Bandicoot subreddit, and they're like, he's not a Mii fighter costume. We still got some hope.
Are there any Resident Evils in Smash? Are there any Capcom characters in Smash? Oh wait, it was Ken and Ryu. Mega Man.
And Ken and Ryu.
So could we get a Chris Redfield? No, get the guy who's the main character in Resident Evil 7 and 8 that just, like, the schlubby guy that goes to rescue. No, Mia.
Ethan.
Mia.
His name is Ethan.
I want Mia in there. I want Mia, and then her super smash is she freaks out and throws you down the stairs. That's like that's her final smash.
I want the dad, and his final smash is he grabs Link's bow and says, "You want to see something cool?" and shoots himself in the face.
Jack of the family from 7. Oh
exactly.
My god,
that dude would be terrifying.
Jeez. I don't know. Do you have any legit predictions? Can you think of anything? Michael, is
Crash Bandicoot's still a pretty big legit idea, because, like I said, there's no Mii fighter for him. He's super popular, but that really comes down to Activision a lot of the times.
Yeah,
and Activision is very weird about when it comes to some of their characters.
Is the new Crash Bandicoot on the Switch? Or is that...
It is. Yeah.
It is?
They
Okay.
announced that 4 is coming to the Switch, which is one of the other reasons people keep thinking, because every Crash Bandicoot that Activision's come out with since the remake is coming to the Switch. And so some people are like, well, maybe, man, we're almost there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I doubt somebody like Master Chief or... Like, I really doubt, like, any actual, like, full-on shooter characters will ever show up in it. But, you know... I don't know.
I would I would eat a big handful of cilantro if Master Chief was ever in Smash. That's too much. That's too much. Like, I think I would, and
It'd be crazy.
I feel the same way about, like, I know that I don't get the impression that who owns the rights to Dragon Ball. Like, I know everyone's Goku.
Namco.
Yeah, I know that, like,
Bandai Namco.
Goku. People want Goku in there, but I don't see that happening either. That would be like,
I don't see it happening.
Like the Power Rangers or something in there, like one of these like really super iron grip companies that does not like to let their IP go. Yeah,
one of the ones that people bring up every now and then is just a character from Fortnite, just like in general, to see if maybe they'll bring one of them in. But that could go either way, because with Steve, once they added Steve, it's like, well, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe a Roblox. Maybe they could add a Roblox in there.
Roblox.
Cater to the youth audience.
Fights the Minecrafter.
Yes. Roblox and Steve go fight each other. Well, yes, as you mentioned, so that came out today. It's Thursday, the day we're recording, and the characters are out today. So no super cagey, you got to fight Sephiroth to get Sephiroth thing. They're out. And then, as you mentioned, the Mii Fighter pack has Monster Hunter characters. I feel like this was weird. This was the first Mii Fighter pack where I was like, it's all for the sword guys. Like, they're all sword guy costumes. Like, there's the regular Monster Hunter and the Rathalos Monster Hunter, and then Arthur from Ghouls and Goblins, Ghosts and Ghouls. God, why can't I remember
Still
this?
not getting the name right.
I'm still not getting it. Which I think that after you and I, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, after you and I played Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, I remember watching this and I was like, I don't give a fuck. Fuck that game. I kind of hate that game now. But yes, you were correct in saying that the fans kind of think that because they've got the Monster Hunter stuff in here that it's not going to be coming. That eliminates it as a potential possibility. But then, like, what would they even put in? Would it be like a specific, like, is there a specific named Monster Hunter character that is popular enough through the franchise that they would be in there? Because most of the characters are characters. They're not just like, you know, Steve, like, it wasn't just like Minecraft guy. It was like Steve from Minecraft.
Well, that's the thing, is that, like, it could be like Pokemon Trainer, where his name is just Pokemon Trainer. But, like, sure, you just use the Pokemon that are in there. But, because, like, for instance, in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, there's a Monster Hunter that's just called Monster Hunter. Mm-hmm. And she just uses all of the different weapons. And that's what you could do, is that you every, like, you know, up B, down B, or whatever could be a different weapon, similar to what they did there. But, you know, like, that could have been what they could have done. But if they decided that wasn't the case that they wanted to do, that's fine, because, you know, they're still in that game that I mentioned, even if it's not, you know, the most well received Marvel vs. Capcom ever.
If they put Monster Hunter in Smash, I feel like they have to go whole hog and make it like 100, like, so complicated. Like, okay, down B is like is cook the meat, and you've got to, like, time it right, or else the meat burns. And then it's like, you know, your neutral special is craft, like, a potion that you could then drink later on. It's gonna be like 100 buttons to use Monster Hunter in there, or else it won't be accurate. I don't know. I'm still holding out for Lady Dimitrescu. But let's see. In other Nintendo news, Nintendo reminded us. Well, no. Okay, this is before that. We got another. This is the worst kept secret of all time, guys. There is going to be a new Switch. Don't let Doug Bowser tell you that there's not going to be a new Switch model. There is going to be a new Switch model, and it's going to be announced probably in the next month or two. So
it's strange. Every time they ask him about it, he's like, I don't know, it's in another castle. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. This is a Bloomberg report. Man, Bloomberg has really been knocking it out of the park with, I guess it's just put Schreier over there and give him a few nerds, and you'll start getting stories out of stuff. But I feel like in the last 6 months, I've seen Bloomberg reports about video games more than I ever saw in the past. But basically, this is one of those things that's really hard to hide, because Like device manufacturers are ordering materials, and there's just so many things. This is a leaked insider report that there's going to be a new Switch. It's going to have a 7-inch 720p OLED panel on the device, and I've seen it described as like if you take the existing Switch and you were to expand the viewable area of the screen out all the way to the edges of where the case is. I think it's like an inch bigger than what it currently is. But it is going to be 720p, but it's also going to be an OLED device, which is one of the reasons that apparently I was reading an article before about how Samsung is going to be manufacturing a screen which is a rigid 7-inch OLED, which apparently is not something that's really used in the world anymore because most of the OLEDs tend to be flexible, so you don't have a stiff one. And then the big thing is that when docked, it should do 4K on the TV. So there's obviously some kind of internal like processor upgrade. So you still only have 720 on the device, but it should be brighter, it should be bigger, and then when you hook it up to the TV, it should be able to render up to 4K. And yeah, this is going to be a thing. Like there's nobody's saying, I mean, like only this is that thing where something's about to come out and everybody knows it, but they still have to lie because they believe if they tell you, you'll stop buying Switches, even though everybody wants to buy a Switch, regardless of how crappy it is, regardless of which model it is right now.
Well, it's slightly true because I know a guy, he's like, I want to buy a Switch real bad, but I'm just waiting for them to announce this goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And they're holding it to their chest, even though every other announcement's like, yeah, we're just going to stop making Switches. It's like, well, why? No reason.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's obvious why.
Yeah. Don't buy a Switch. Not right now. You can wait. You can wait. I swear to God. I still think that it's going to be announced, I don't know, either at the end of this month or maybe at the virtual E3. I don't know. But this is a thing. There are too many leaks and speculations and things for this to just be nonsense. It's going to be a thing that actually comes out. Let's see. Another Nintendo news. Last week we got a whole Pokemon like live stream. I think that Post Malone concert happened.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I didn't watch it because I know that you guys don't want me to spend 30 minutes on a podcast being like, here's another Pokemon thing. I don't give a shit about it. Here's another Pokemon thing. I don't give a shit about it. Here's another Pokemon thing. I don't give a shit about it. But they did say, this is kind of interesting, that they're putting out Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl, which are basically remakes of Pokemon Diamond, Pokemon Pearl from the DS era. For the Switch, and those are going to be coming out at some point this year. And it looks like it's not just like an upres, that they actually went back in and cleaned stuff up, and it's going to be like kind of a new updated version. I was a little confused though when I saw this, Michael, because like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, okay, let's do this in our head. We got Let's Go Pokemon, Pokemon Let's Go. We got Pokemon Sword and Shield. We've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. We've got Pokemon Snap 2. We've got Pokemon Pikachu Cafe. And we've got Pokemon the Toothbrushing app. Like, there are so many Pokemon games. As near as I can tell, there are at least 2 games that are of this same pedigree. The RPG, walk around, open world, catch your Pokemon, fight your Pokemon versus other people. You got Let's Go, you got Sword and Shield, which I think, did the second DLC for that ever come out, or are they still working on a second round DLC?
I couldn't even remember if the second DLC for it came out or not.
It just, I mean, I guess like this is a good way to go if you're looking to sell more Pokemon games using nostalgia, like of resurrecting one of the old ones and instead of like making a new one. But it just seems like
they've been doing that for a while though, so. Because they remade Red and Blue on the Game Boy Advance. They remade Gold and Silver for the DS. Mm-hmm. Like, they've consistently been doing these remakes, and just it's funny because the remakes are getting on different systems at this point. So now, like, I wouldn't be surprised if they remade one of the remakes because of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just, I guess it's just a really good time to be a Pokemon fan because like. You have your pick, and then Pokemon Go is still a thing, right? Like I keep seeing these articles about
absolutely
different events happening in Pokemon Go. So yeah, Pokemon Diamond, Pokemon Pearl. Did you play either one of these? Do you Pokemon?
No, by this point, I'd stopped playing Pokemon for a bit because I stopped playing Pokemon sometime in the Game Boy Advance era. Because A, I didn't have a Game Boy Advance, and B, I was one of those kids that's like, I'm too old for Pokemon now, kind of thing. But then, I got pulled back in after I left high school because I was like, who cares, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, you had that point in time in your teenage years where you were too cool for the stuff you liked when you were a kid. And then eventually you got to the point where you didn't give a shit about being cool anymore. And you could just be like, I just want to play Pokemon, and I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about that. Like, you could find.
There's a great webcomic about it too. It's like child years, Pokemon, and all these people. It's like teenage years, like they're the only one playing. It's like college years, and everybody's like Pokemon again.
Yeah. So let's see. Other Nintendo news. We got a reminder from Nintendo on Twitch or on Twitter that you guys all remember, right? That Pokemon 3D All Stars is it is a time limited event. The 31st of this month, they are going to not only stop selling the physical copies, but they're delisting it from the store, from the digital store. So like you guys, if you want that Super Mario 3D All-Stars, you should go get it. This is like more of a public service announcement. I don't understand the rationale behind this. I think it's really stupid because Doug Bowser just keeps saying like, yeah, it's cool. It's like a cool thing to make it special because of like the anniversary times. And I'm like, that's not special. That's like, if you want it, you should be able to get it because it's a celebration of Mario. I do not understand why they're doing this, but
that's clearly a ploy by Bowser to turn people off of Mario.
That's right. It's part of Doug.
I will continue making Bowser jokes till the day he dies.
It's because of it's Doug Bowser's long-term plan, and then eventually one day in a Nintendo Direct he reaches up behind his head and unzips his person suit, and we see like an actual in real life like horrifying lizard come out of the skin of Doug Bowser, and then Reggie puts on the plumber cap, and then let's go.
He's just going to announce we're only making Bowser games from now on.
Yeah. I don't understand. I really don't understand this. I think this is really stupid. I think it's really stupid because what it means is that like I almost want to buy a physical copy because I feel like in 10 years, well, they're also delisting. They're also not going to be selling the. So they're turning off that Mario versus 35 or whatever. Yeah. And then they're also not going to be manufacturing the Game & Watch, the Mario Game & Watch thing that they did for the anniversary anymore either. So I don't know, man. That's a lot of it's just stupid. I don't like it. So
no, it's really dumb.
But if you want it, you should go get it, and that's what you should do. And finally, in our Nintendo news for this week, Super Nintendo World in the United States is delayed. You'll never guess why. It's because my dishwasher is broken, and I don't know. It's because of stupid COVID, just like everything else. I'm
just gonna blame Bowser. It's easier.
Yeah, Doug Bowser. So they had this thing that was supposed to open in 2023 called Epic Universe near the Universal theme park in Orlando. That was going to have the U.S. version of Super Nintendo World. And it's been shifted out from 2023 to 2025 because obviously they weren't working on it all of last year because of, stupid COVID. So thanks a lot, COVID, big douche, for being a jerk. Yeah. In other news of things that you'd like to go to but can't, E3 2021 was going to apparently have a live event, or was potentially going to have. They hadn't clarified on this yet about whether they were going to have an actual live event in addition to all the stuff that they streamed online. But at this point, no is the answer to that, which is probably a good idea. No,
it's for the best.
Yeah. So the Los Angeles, this is you got this is from a document from the Board of Los Angeles Convention Tourism Development Commission, saying like, nah, not this year. I mean, this is going on June 15th through the 17th. I get the feeling that things are still going to be pretty dicey, because that's what, March, April, May, June, 3 months from now. I bet it's still going to be pretty dicey out there, right?
Would have to be.
Yeah. But there is the potential for them coming back in 2022 or 2023. I don't know. Aren't we just over E3 at this point? I'm over E3. Are you? What do you think? Do you want E3 back? Or
I don't think anybody missed it last year.
Yeah.
Like we were like, was E3 supposed to happen? And then everyone shrugged their shoulders, and then everyone came out with trailers anyways, and nothing changed.
Yeah. I mean, Nintendo pulled out a long time ago. Sony pulled out. Like, just, who cares?
Yeah, no one was excited anyways, because everybody pulled out except for Xbox, and Xbox is like, yeah, we're gonna have a stage to ourselves, and we're just gonna talk about TV, I guess. I don't know.
Also, I mean, we all remember, right, that before COVID shut everything down in 2019, we had the story that like apparently the ESA was like E3 wasn't as in vogue anymore, so they wanted like a bunch of influencers and like Twitch streamers to come. They wanted to be like super hip with the kids, bro, which was the reason that Keeley pulled out of it, because he didn't want to be part of this weird like media stunt and said, fuck you guys, I'll go make my own conference. And then he did, and it was fine. And
yeah, I don't know.
We don't need it. It's fine.
Like,
it's fine.
This is the thing about E3. E3 hasn't been, the event anymore. It used to be, because everybody just streams their shit anyways nowadays.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they can just have a 40-minute video of Sakurai talking on YouTube means you don't need E3. Like, E3 is pointless now.
That was why that was why it irritated me, right? Wasn't the first one when he went into all that depth, wasn't that like part of one of the E3 shows?
Yeah, it was like towards the end, because we were all like waiting for something, and then they're like, we're just going to talk about Smash for like an hour. And
yeah.
And they went into like in depth for the entirety, because it was when they first announced Smash Brothers, or Smash Brothers Ultimate, I think. And they're like, here's everybody. And they just went into everybody.
Yeah, I remember
for like
that.
an hour. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm just going to not watch the rest of this.
Well, speaking of live shows, we got we have a Microsoft live show that is probably coming up in March on the 23rd. But last week we got confirmation that apparently, no, you will not be seeing an Elden Ring trailer at this Microsoft event. People are so thirsty for Elden Ring. They want that Elden Ring so bad that like they had to come out and basically say ahead of time, we are not going to be showing Elden Ring. Please don't downvote us, because I feel like that would be the thing, right? Otherwise they would do it and then they'd be like, what? No, Elden Ring, 6 billion downvotes. Like, fuck you.
No, absolutely. They all have to preemptive strike these things down. Like when Sony constantly had to be like, there's no PS5 news in this thing, like every time they had a new conference for a bit,
right,
until the PS5 was announced.
Yeah. But that's not the only Elden Ring news we have this week, because apparently we also got some insider information from VGC saying that apparently the remote working for Elden Ring. I was actually let's just take a brief tangent here. I was actually listening to a podcast that was talking about how like all the stuff that came out last year was probably like in the last part of development. Like it probably was mostly done, and so the remaining work that had to be done remotely was like polish and bug fixes and stuff that could be done, but that we're probably going to end up with a huge bunch of delays. Like this year is probably going to be really thin, because anything that was in like actual development probably suffered hugely from having to shift to remote, because it's just not the way that teams normally do this kind of creative development work. And apparently Elden Ring is another game that suffered like extremely, had a lot of setbacks because of this remote working situation that we were in 2020 because of stupid COVID.
Well, that's the tricky thing about games becoming bigger and bigger, is that everybody has to download these things as they're sending it to each other, different builds, different like assets. And that's just the amount of time it takes to just download those things over and over and over again as you're making tweaks must have been fucking brutal.
Well, plus I feel like there's the whole thing, when you're doing like a creative thing, like I feel like a lot of times this is one of those things that gets glossed over, where it is really useful to be working in a building where you can go into somebody's office and be like, hey, Joe, did you get a chance to work on that UI thing that I sent you last week? And like, oh yeah, I had some ideas here. Let me like draw on the whiteboard. I was thinking that we move the health bar down over here. And you're like, no. We're going to have, is this a problem where we're going to have a thing for fire? If you're on fire, put it up here instead. Like, instead of having to do all that stuff over Zoom meetings and, remote and emails and stuff like that. It's a lot. I feel like we're used to working in a much smoother way in person, and some stuff doesn't suffer because of remote working. But I feel like some of this creative stuff, it's easier to just kind of bang around, not to mention just like, oh, I'm going to go to lunch with the fucking QA guys and we're going to talk about what the problems were that you saw this week in the build that I put out. Get like, I can ask you questions, get into the nitty-gritty. So I can see how that would be dramatically affected from having to do this remote stuff as opposed to some things. But we also got the news that Bandai Namco apparently has trademark Bandai Namco Next, which people are thinking might be a Bandai Namco version of the Sony's State of Play or Nintendo Direct, or does Microsoft code their things with anything? I don't think they have like a brand for
showcase. They call them showcases sometimes.
Okay. Apparently they wanted to make sure that nobody could guess what they were doing. So in their trademark filing for Bandai Namco Next, they said it was going to cover products and services including amusement parks, esports competitions, movies, toys, computer networks, online publications, animated feature films, and games. Does Bandai Namco make animated feature films, Michael? I don't remember ever watching a movie and seeing Bandai Namco come up.
Maybe they'll announce it then. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that's how they're going to do it. We're making another Tekken movie, they said.
What about amusement parks? Is there a Bandai Namco amusement park that I missed out on where I can go to Code Vein Land and Dark Souls Land and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this just goes back to the E3 thing where, like, why not? Just make your own showcase, man. Like,
everybody's getting a showcase.
Yeah, hire a fucking After Effects artist and just make some graphics. It's not that hard.
Well, they're doing a Dragon Ball one pretty soon, actually. I think they call it the Dragon Ball Power Hour or some shit like that. They're literally selling merchandise for this fucking event, and it's like, why though? Like, why would anybody want any of this stuff?
I don't know. I mean, you got to figure.
One of them's a towel. It's got like the date on it and the time of the thing. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
Are you telling me that you don't want a towel with the Dragon Ball Power Hour on it with the date?
It literally just says Dragon Ball Power on it, though. It doesn't have any characters on it. It just says Dragon Ball Power Hour, and then it has like a time and date on it. It's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Michael, we live in a world where people are scalping the box of Pokemon cards that goes in Happy Meals out of the warehouse and getting them shipped to people. It does not surprise me in the least that a Dragon Ball towel, I would expect to have to pay a scalper group to get the Dragon Ball towel, because I assume they will buy them all and then put them on eBay for a 40% markup, just because fuck you. You're not allowed to buy stuff anymore. What world do you think you're living in? You can't just go
pre-order right now.
Oh God. Go get but all this Elden Ring talk goes to the fact that apparently there was like a bunch of leaked Elden Ring footage last week. And it's funny how I actually found a website that took the leak and then ran it through an AI upscaler to upscale it from crappy 480 cell phone video to like interpolated 720p video. And they ran like the shaky thing to smooth it out so it's not all like super shaky and stuff. And so we finally got a chance to take a look at like less than 2 minutes of Elden Ring. And Michael, you'll never guess, it looks like Dark Souls. It looks a lot like Dark Souls. Like,
no.
there's yeah, I know. There's like even a magic effect in this leak that looks exactly like a thing from Demon Souls. There's like a bunch of people with swords. There's a bunch of wacky monsters. There's some big bosses. I mean, there's a part where a guy's riding on a horse fighting a boss, but like, I don't know. I guess it's going to be slightly more open world than any of their previous games. Like you're going to have to get on a horse, but okay, cool. I don't know. I'm like not letting myself get excited for Elden Ring because From Software, but like it'll be what it is, right? Like getting all wound up about Elden Ring before it has a release date or even a second trailer to me seems like a real waste of time. But that's just me.
And this stuff could all change. Yeah. Like a month from now, it could just look like Metal Wolf Chaos for some reason.
That's what I want. That's what I would be excited if they announced Metal Wolf Chaos 2. Like if that was what they were making instead of a new Dark Souls game, I'd be like, yes. Everybody wants Bloodborne 2. I do not want Bloodborne 2. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. What I'm actually most interested in is less the mechanics and the way that this looks, because it looks a lot like a Souls game. What I'm more interested in is they hired a famous author to write it, which means that they're not going to be. I mean, maybe hold on. It just occurred to me. I was gonna say they should be making the story front and center instead of hiding it in item descriptions like they did in Dark Souls. And then part of my brain was like, hey, stupid, that's exactly what they would do. They would totally hire J.R.R. Martin to write the story and then hide it in a bunch of item descriptions. So they just got this like world famous writer to write a story, but you still have to watch fucking YouTubers piece that shit together and listen to like lore podcasts and stuff.
It'd be funny if they did it purely because it turns out he didn't write enough of it. They kept like trying to be like, "Did you finish it yet?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll get to it." And then it's like, "I don't think he has anything." And they just put a bunch of like what he wrote in those item descriptions.
Yeah. Like, wait a minute, this is Game of Thrones. Wait, hold on. I think they mixed them up. I think this might just be Game of Thrones in here.
I think this literally says it's the IMDb description of season 4.
So I don't know. We might be getting a new Elden Ring trailer pretty soon. But I'm excited. I get excited sometimes for From Software games, but a lot of people get excited for the Aliens franchise. And this week we got an announcement trailer for Aliens Fireteam. This is okay. I'm going to save my editorializing for later. This is a 3-person online co-op. It's basically, I actually watched IGN put out like a full 25 minutes of people playing this. It is a 3-person Left 4 Dead with aliens. It's a 3rd-person action game. The different characters have like abilities with cooldowns. You can hold on to like a med kit. And then you go through and you're fighting a bunch of AI-driven aliens. They come in big droves. It looks a lot like Left 4 Dead, except they're xenomorphs instead of zombies. Okay. So, it occurred to me when I was watching this that, like, I have reached this point where I'm like, I don't understand why people keep wanting to play the Aliens movie as a video game. Like, I was actually thinking what would be really cool about this would be if this was a Colonial Marines game, even though that trademark has been tainted forever by fucking Randy Pitchford. But like, what if it was a Colonial Marines game where they went to different planets and fought different types of aliens? Like, what if they went to like not this grimy industrial Weyland-Yutani horse shit, but like what if they went to like a village or like a jungle world, right? And they had to fight like weird aliens in the jungle and like make the game so that it's like 75% the Colonial Marines like, oh, we have to fight these malfunctioning synths that rose up and created an army on this one colony world. Like, oh, the capital on this one world has this weird infestation from these aliens. We've got to go kill them. And then 9 hours into the game, then throw some xenomorphs in there. So it's like, oh shit, there's the thing I wanted to see. Because I don't know. It's just like, I guess I've just seen a lot of games that are like, here are the guys that look like they look in Aliens. and they're fighting xenomorphs like they did in Aliens, and there's the smart gun and the flamethrower like in the movie Aliens, and it's just like, all right, but you could do something besides just remake the movie Aliens over and over and over again for my entire life. That's where I am. That's where I am. I don't know.
I get it. That's the thing is like after Colonial Marines tainted even the name Colonial Marines, I actually don't see that much of an issue with this sort of idea. It's just my only issue is that everybody seems to want to do them again. Like it seems to be the new thing that everyone wants to start making games of, because between this and the Evil Dead game kind of thing, like it's interesting to see this genre come back, because it's not the asynchronous thing where it's like, oh, that one person controls the thing. It's like, no, it's the Left 4 Dead idea again. And I'm not opposed to that. I'm just finding it interesting that for some reason it seems like everybody had the same idea at once again.
Well, because we also had Back 4 Blood, right? Which is just Left 4 Dead 3. There's a lot of this kind of co-op versus a big horde of monsters type of thing. I mean, like, I watched this whole 25 minutes, and if you watch this 25 minutes, I think it looks fine. It looks like it could be fun, to just play with your friends and go and do this stuff. I never really got into any of the games that did that, the kind of like 2 or 3 person multiplayer games. So I don't know that I get the appeal quite as much, but I don't know. I mean, the production value looks fine. Like the characters look fine. The lighting and everything, the xenomorph models look all right. I get it. Yeah. I don't know. Like, yeah, I like that idea a lot, but it was a thing that I liked more when I knew a lot more people who played online. Right. Let's see. From there, let's go to another online game that people play. Today, or actually just recently, we got the news that Square thinks that you level up too fast in the Avengers video game. Michael, that progress that you're making in Avengers, leveling up Hawkeye, it's too fast. It's too fast, man. You need to slow down, buddy. You need to slow your roll and not hit power level 50 so fast that you can, afford to buy the really ugly cosmetics that they make for Iron Man and put out. So they're going to slow down the progression in Avengers. Starting at level 25, it's going to take...
the dumbest things I've ever seen as an announcement. Like, I saw a great tweet about it, like, because that's kind of like... Because I still kind of like the game somewhat, but it was a tweet where it's just like, it's getting harder and harder to tell people why I like this game, because these motherfuckers keep doing stupid shit like this.
Yeah, so right now, apparently, like, the amount, the amount of XP that you need to get from level 1 to level 2 is about the same, or it's kind of equivalent, right? There's not a curve where the higher the level, the more XP you need to get to level up. It's kind of just like consistent. So you end up with, being able to level up without a whole lot of crap. But now they're like, nope, we're going to... And you know what's weird about this is that they announced this. This is the sort of thing that they should have stealthily snuck into the game and then let somebody find out in 3 months when everybody was like, why is it so much harder to level up? And then some guy does an analysis on YouTube and it's exposed, because that would have been news for 1 week and then we all would have moved on. But the idea that you came out and proudly announced, we're going to make it harder for you to progress in this game that barely anybody is playing. And what was their rationale?
The rationale is really dumb. It's really dumb.
The level progression has led to pacing issues, such as skill points currently being rewarded too fast, which may be confusing and overwhelming to newer players. We want each decision to invest in a skill or heroic to be more meaningful, which, as somebody who actually played this game and paid attention, would be... They should give you your first 10 skill points for every Avenger for fucking free. Like, the idea that you have to unlock on, say, Iron Man, all 3 of the different projectile attacks that he has is garbage. Like, default Black Widow sucks assholes. Now, like, once you get the high-powered gun and the machine guns, it's going a little better now, right? But, like, those, when you first start playing a new character in that game, they feel like shit. They feel like utter garbage. And so the idea of slowing it down, I don't know, man. I feel like it's just a matter of time. Like it's got to just be a matter of time, right? Let's do a crappy Rage Select bet. How many months until Avengers is shut down or goes free to play, Michael? By the end of this year, middle of this year, past the end of this year, we'll do it.
I say fall.
Fall, okay. End of this year.
They still need to bring Spider-Man into the game because I think they're contractually obligated to do that.
Yeah, see if that makes any difference. Yeah, I think I'll go with that too. I think it'll be later this year, but I think they'll do it because I think that once we get through the entirety of 2021 and there are other things for people to play, they're gonna start losing as more games come out. They're gonna lose. Well, hell, I bet that Aliens game will pull people away from Avengers. Right? You want to play an online game with your friends? I mean, Matt and I just got done playing the demo for that Outriders game that Square is putting out. It's another Square game. I'm sure there'll be some Destiny shit that comes out. Like, the longer that this goes on with this kind of bad, not really enthusiastic pace, the worse it'll get because people will just keep leaving.
Well, there's the thing with like the Hawkeye announcement because they announced Hawkeye was going to be in the game, but then their explanation for what his thing would be was like pure bullshit because they're like, oh, we're doing Hawkeye and it's the future where the Kree took over, but also they left, and so all these same enemy types are there in the future, and also Taskmaster is still there. It's like, you guys didn't even make another fucking villain to be in this fucking thing, and they're like, well, we got Maestro, but people are worried that Maestro is just an Abomination reskin kind of thing. And we haven't been told otherwise, so a lot of people are very sure that's probably what's going to happen. Like even their new stuff has nothing new in it.
Yeah, it's so, I don't know. This game sucks so much. I mean, like, the thing is that I liked. You know what? I wish that all of the time and effort that they've put into doing cosmetics, to doing these expansions, to doing the rebalancing, to doing the next gen versions, if all of it had gone into making the single player a little bit more single player focused and about twice as long as it was, right? And then if all of these additional resources had gone into just like making story extensions for the game, like, I would have been fine with that. Like, I would have been just fine with that. But the fact that, you know, you were telling me that the last thing that they put out was the like, oh, this is 99 levels of aim or something that gets harder and you've got to beat it in 12 seconds or some bullshit like that. Like,
just a lot of like just weird shit. And that the players are just, they don't care anymore. Like, I really liked the game when it first came out because I thought it played really well and I really liked using all these characters. And I was like, oh, I can't wait till they add more stuff to it, and then nothing consistently. They're like, you got to fight clones of Abomination and Taskmaster 100,000 times. And here's another thing I found out about recently because I didn't know this until the Reddit mentioned it. There's a mode called the Cloning Labs because you're supposed to like finally attack the labs where they make all these Taskmasters and Abominations. It's completely done. The reason they can't release it is their netcode doesn't let people stay online together for longer than like an hour.
No, come on.
So basically people can't play this raid.
The raid?
They made
yeah.
Because people can't stay together long enough to finish the thing they made.
Yep. Okay, sure. Yeah, you do you, Avengers.
Right.
Oh, well, okay. But you know what? That's not important, Michael, because we did get the trailer for all the next-gen version for the PS5, Xbox One free upgrade. It loads faster, and there's more particles, and it's 60 frames and 4K. And that makes it better, right? When you're 4K 60 frames per second, but it's still a horrible grindy slog that you don't really want to play all that much. I mean, that makes sense, right? Doesn't it?
No, yeah, of course. Like, you know, you can't do New Game Plus still, and you know, the characters are still kind of meh, and there's still very little to do after the game is done, but it loads faster, so that's nice.
Like, all the visuals are fine, the engine is fine, like the character abilities are fine. I just feel like you just need somebody to rewrite the story and bring in some new enemies and
you need like
new
at
content.
least two more villains, like a villain, to be honest. Like the fact that Taskmaster's still alive in the future just shows that you guys literally can't even make another villain.
who could you use in the you could like reskin Taskmaster as like Crossbones, right, or something like that.
Like you could reskin, like change his name, like make him Crossbones or make Abomination like fucking the Crimson Dynamo, and you give him lasers or something. I don't know, do something.
Yeah,
my God,
just a few different things. So. Let's see. Well, on that happy note, we did not get through all the stories. We're going to go ahead and take a break, though. We're going to come back. We got some more stories. We're going to try to rip through them pretty quick. So we'll see you in just a second for that. And we have more news. But we're gonna go pretty fast to these news. We're gonna get something in. We're gonna get something besides news into this news podcast that didn't used to always be about news, but now it's mostly about news. There's just so many interesting things that happened, and one of the interesting things that happened was I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at this, but the Sinking City is that crazy Cthulhu game with the monkey men and the fishmen and all that stuff. We've got this thing where Frogwares, the developer of the Sinking City, and Nacon / Big Ben Interactive, they were recently renamed, I believe, are like, who is the publisher, are feuding with each other. Frogwares claims that they have not been paid for the work that they did for the game, or not paid enough. And the Big Ben / Nacon says, like, that's not true. So they had a thing recently where the game was actually delisted from online services. And then there was a French court. This all happened in France. There's a French court ruling where they said, French court said, Frogwares, you can't stop them from publishing it because this is part of the contract you signed with them. You can't just dissolve a contract like that. So the game went back up on a variety of different places. Now, I believe, I'm not entirely certain about this, but I believe that the game was on the Epic Game Store, I think. Could be mistaken, but basically it went up on Steam this week, and Frogwares has now published this very, very lengthy post saying that Nacon hacked the game because they have been refusing to release the source code or the master version for the PC version to Nacon to publish on Steam, and they are currently in French court for this about whether they can be forced to release the assets to this publisher. Now, I actually watched a 15-minute video where they went over this in exquisite detail, and basically what they're saying is that the publisher bought a copy of the game, of the Sinking City, from this website called it's like game something. Anyway, they bought a copy. They bought like a Game of the Year edition version of the thing from this website, and then they went in and like edited the files to remove a few things from the game. Like when you bring up the title screen of the game, there should be like a little thing in the bottom that has like other games that you can buy that Frogwares has developed, and that's gone, and that there's like there's another thing like when the game first comes up and it shows the publisher that it's Nacon now instead of the website that they bought it from. And they said that they did such a crappy job about this that like this is so interesting. The name of the follow along with me here. Games Planet was the name of it. So when the game came up, it would show the Frogwares, and it would show Games Planet, and then it would show like the title screen, right? And that they literally went in, and there was a image file in the installation that was like gamesplanet.png or something like that. And they literally went in and just took their own logo and replaced the gamesplanet.png file with a gamesplanet.png file that has their logo instead of the GamesPlanet logo. They went in these INI files to remove the GamesPlanet logo from the splash screen that comes up. And that you know, this isn't like super haxing, right? This is just like they went in, they bought a a retail copy of the game and then edited it and then listed it on Steam as well as a bunch of other places as if this was the actual game. And I think the reason that they took this GamesPlanet version was because that was like a like downloading. You could like download the full installer, right? Like it didn't have a Steam type of thing. But then apparently, like in there, they have a YouTube video, like a 15-minute YouTube video that explains all this. Like once they got it on Steam, they requested thousands of keys for the game from Steam to distribute in other places like Humble Bundles and stuff like that. So the developer is basically saying like, we didn't give them this copy. Like the Steam version was supposed to have Steam achievements, but because they took this version and not the version that the developer actually worked on, it doesn't have Steam achievements in it. And it's a real weird, I've never seen this happen before, where
I remember when this whole thing first started, but this is a whole new level of just fucking insane.
There's also a part where they talk about like in the like they bring up the username of the person who published it on Steam, and then they track that name to their LinkedIn profile, and that person is a programmer that works for this company called Neopika or something like that. And like Nacon had a press release where they talked about hiring this person, or they acquired Neopika as a sub-developer in Namco. So they think that they've even found the fingerprint of like the person who did this, the developer who took this and scrubbed their shit out of it and then like put it back together and put it up on the website. They even said that like because they took the Game of the Year edition, that they never actually paid for the DLC that was inside of that package. So they basically have taken then also the DLC and put it up. Now, of course, Nacon says that this is just a belligerent developer that wanted more money and is trying to like squeeze them, that they totally did everything legit and that they paid. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just taking Frogware's side. I'm kind of taking Frogware's side, but like
it's hard not to.
Yeah, just because I don't generally trust. I trust video game publishers less than I trust video game developers, because one of those things, like part of the case apparently was that Nacon said that they upheld their end of the bargain because they invested all this money in the marketing and the like promotion for the game, and that they don't owe them any more money. And so it's a really interesting story. I highly recommend everybody check out the actual 10-minute video on Frogware's website about it, how this happened, because it's really compelling. Like, it's really like they go down the whole thing step by step and like show you, you know, like, here are the two screens. Here's the thing that's gone from the version. Here's the code where we show that they pulled this out. It's fascinating. So, yeah. And then apparently Frogwares has now taken Nacon to court, basically for hacking them. Like, they now are being like, you illegally altered our code and then published it online, and that is like IP theft. Like, that would be like if an individual person did this, you would totally take them to court, sue the shit out of them for making money on Steam for something that they didn't have anything to do with. And so, yeah, I'll be interested to see. This is like way more interesting to me than the Apple Epic debacle.
It's just fucking crazy is the thing.
Yeah,
it's absolutely insane.
Yep, it's very nuts. In other things you won't be able to maybe get online news, PlayStation announced this week that they are, as of August, I believe, no more movies or TV shows on the PlayStation Store. They actually, this is a cool one. This is like, I think, kind of like a good guy Sony thing. Like, they put out basically this statement that it basically said, we've looked at it. There are a lot of streaming services and places where people can buy movies and rent TV shows and things like that, and we just don't think that it's necessary for us to have a whole separate store full of products for you to get, so we're just going to stop doing it. Now you can still access anything that you've purchased off of the store after that time, but they're just going to take the actual store down, and I think that's a good thing, because when was the last time that you rented anything from the PlayStation movie store?
That's the thing. Yeah, I only did it once, and that was because I wanted to watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for Thanksgiving. The first year I moved out here, which was like 5 years ago, kind of thing. And there's the only time. And actually, there's one other time I think I actually did buy something from it, which was the Psych movie, because there was like no easy way of finding it for some reason at that point, and that was it. And I literally have never touched it since.
I actually bought a fair number of things there. It's funny because there's this guy on YouTube, Patrick Willems, who does these. I don't know if you familiar with Patrick H. Willems?
Yeah, I've heard that name before.
He did a whole thing about music in movies, and it reminded me about how awesome the like first 15 minutes of that movie Baby Driver are, where they just play that John Spencer Blues Explosion and have that great car chase. And I remembered that I bought Baby Driver on the Sony store when it came out, so I was like, let me look at the 4 movies I have on here, because I bought stuff on there, I bought stuff on the Google store, I bought stuff on the Amazon store, so it's like I have a smattering of movies across all these different platforms. I think I bought like a season of Doctor Who on the Sony store before that was like available to stream everywhere, but I think this is good. It's good. Shut it down. Let's see. Speaking of shutting shit down, I feel like we're counting the days until Google Stadia gets shut down, because we got some new news and reports about Google Stadia, and guess what? There's one good one and two bad ones.
Okay.
So according to, again, a report from Bloomberg, in the run-up to Stadia's launch, apparently Stadia spent millions of dollars to get third-party games on Stadia. Not even exclusivity, but just to get them on Stadia. Like,
that's insane.
I was listening to a podcast. This is probably another Jason Schreier joint, but I was listening to Triple Click, which is the podcast that has Jason Schreier on it, and he was talking about how like these are estimated, but they're probably close to what they actually paid. That like they gave Take-Two $30 million to get Red Dead Redemption 2 on Stadia, and they gave like Capcom $10 million, and they gave like we're talking like double-digit millions of dollars to acquire. Like Ubisoft got something like $20 million to put stuff on Stadia, and just like, and then apparently the other side of this report is that that they super lowballed indie developers, that they paid out the ass for like these big titles, but then they just like really made insulting offers to like indie developers to try to get their shit on Stadia, which
I'm not surprised at all, though.
Yeah.
I bet you fucking the bigger names lowball or fuck them over. They probably were just like, how much do you want for it? And somebody's like, 30 million, and then they're like, soul.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like they're probably just were like, what crazy number can we tell them that their weird, like clearly unlimited pocket will just say yes to?
Yeah, it's just such a shame because Stadia could have worked. Like I was actually thinking about how I would have done Stadia, and I was thinking like they should have launched it as a phone, as a phone, like an app on the phone to play. Like, hey, you can play AAA games on your Android phone, right? Because all Android phones have like Google connectivity. You can spec for like 4G, right, or 5G. Like test on those. Probably just start with 4G and then be like, hey, do you like playing games on your phone? Do you want to play Red Dead Redemption 2 on your phone? Hey, give us $5 a month, and we've got a subscription service. You can play Red Dead Redemption 2 on your phone. Or just like some proof of concept stuff outside of like you could play Assassin's Creed in a browser, and then like focus on the phones to start with, because man, that Chromecast setup and I mean, I like the controller, but like getting one was kind of a pain in the dick. Like you can't buy them on Amazon. You can't just get a next day Amazon Prime Stadia controller. You have to like order it off of Best Buy, and then you gotta, so
the issue with Stadia is that they got bored Like that's what Google does is they get bored with something and then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like it happened with the Google Glass. It happened with a whole bunch of other things they've done. It happened with the Google Plus, essentially.
Yep.
Although with Google Plus, they kind of tried. But even then, they were like, no, this isn't working. Like Stadia could have worked. That's the thing. It's like Stadia was trying to go to this very niche idea, but it could have been, it could have gotten to a broader audience if, one, like you said, it was easier to find the controllers they made. B, it was easier to connect to a television because those Chromecasts, they were heating up like super hard,
yeah,
kind of thing. Like they were not designed to do the stuff they were asking for it to do. Like they needed to focus. Like it could have been like on live, except it could have worked, kind of thing. But they just didn't want to. Like as soon as it got hard, they were just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I mean, you saw, when I started dicking around with Stadia before I got my super internet, right? Like before I got my super high speed Spectrum, we were doing like shitty internet through AT&T with an Xbox controller in a browser, and like I remember giving you Hitman, right? And like Hitman was fine on Stadia in a browser window. I mean, yeah, so. I don't know. Like the other thing, I guess, would have been like if they could have come out of the gate. I guess they started development a little too early, but if they could have come out of the gate and said like, all of our blades are going to have like ray tracing, right? They're all going to have like the best looking version of a PC game on them. I don't know. But anyway, the second story that we have about Stadia is that the developer of Terraria that got all of his Google accounts locked down and then just like canceled the Stadia version of Terraria on Twitter because he was like, I guess Google just fucking like, because, he was trying to get support from Google. Good luck with that. Apparently they got back to him and unlocked his accounts. And so they are going to be putting out Terraria on Google Stadia.
That's so weird.
So, but you know what, Michael? I don't know. You probably didn't get a chance to look through every one of these news stories before we started. The heartbreaking thing is that we also found that there was probably the beginning parts of the development of an episodic horror game from Kojima Productions to be a Stadia exclusive that got canceled at some point.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You say that like it's a bad thing, but that means that he can now take this somewhere else because Kojima is still like a big name. And I think somebody's probably going to try to bite on that, hopefully.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I like Kojima, but the thing that makes me nervous about Kojima is that I want him to have a game company that expects him to produce something in order to put pressure on him not to just pull an Anno and just fuck off over here and be like, next year we're going to hear that Hideo Kojima directed like a movie that's on Amazon and it's not very good, and then it's like another 2 years and then it's like, okay, well now you've got the thing. I don't know. I think this would have been the perfect thing for Stadia, right? Instead of shelling out for, a bunch of Assassin's Creed and Red Dead games, about having like specific things, exclusives would have been a better solution, especially if they were able to get something as big name as this. So,
well, that's the thing. It definitely would have been a good idea. Like the only reason I said it, like it was a bad thing kind of thing before was because, I would probably wouldn't have maybe had a good way of playing it because I don't like, because it still comes down to the fact that Stadia didn't have enough things to warrant me wanting to try Stadia all that much. Like that would have been something that would have gotten me considering it, but they would have needed a little more than that. And like I said, as soon as they considered something too hard, they just gave up.
Yep. Let's see. We also got in other Kojima news. This is another one of those things that I feel like is kind of a badly kept secret at this point. We are probably going to be getting a Death Stranded extended edition at some point. This is still like a rumor coming from Reset Era. But you remember when they added like the cyberpunk stuff to the PC version of Death Stranding?
Oh yeah.
And I get the feeling that like Sony would probably kick him some bucks to put in like a few more things and then like upgrade the lighting. And Kojima's such a technical guy that I could see him wanting to like try to use some of the next gen features. I'd be willing to bet that at some point we're going to see a re-release next gen plus extra version of Death Stranding. I put money on that. Like, I bet that's going to happen.
Yeah. It sounds like something he would do, especially because he loves like just playing around with new technology.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of work into this game, and with that new stuff, I think this game would look even fucking better than it already does.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the man who made Substance and Subsistence and, like, I bet this is going to happen.
100%.
In other PlayStation news, we got this is kind of a strange story. So I think when I originally brought this story up, I wasn't super familiar with it, but basically there's like this whole headline that's been going around like Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 will take full advantage of the PS5. So going through this article, the intergrade version is going to have the graphical upgrades on the PS5. It's going to have the smoke and the lighting and the textures and all that stuff that we talked about last week. The things they're talking about in this, though, are like the DualSense haptic adaptive triggers, like the 3D audio surround sound. I'd be willing to bet it doesn't mention it particular in this article, but like maybe the card system. It's like it's less the stuff that's like front and center when you have a game like this, like the graphics and the shaders and the lighting and the textures and stuff like that, and more just kind of like the bells and whistles around the corner. But apparently all that stuff is going to come out like day and date with Part 2, as opposed to having to get an upgrade later. And so there you go.
Hopefully it'll come out.
Yep. We also got news that on the PS5 this summer, we're probably going to finally be getting an update that will let PS5 owners expand the storage capacity on their PS5s. If y'all don't remember, back when they originally announced, Sony said like, rather than the Xbox solution, which was Microsoft was selling specific SSD expansion modules, that PS5s would be able to use any M2 NVMe, I think like Gen 4 solid state drive. They had to be the fastest ones because they had to be able to keep up with the internal drive in order not to just slow the system down, like get more storage but make the whole system slower. So those types of drives are currently available on the market. You can buy them. The main thing is that Sony hasn't done the testing in order to get them into the system. One of the things they talked about in this article was that they need to turn the fan up a little higher because those drives will be generating more heat, and so you'll need to do a little bit more thermal stuff. But I don't know, Michael. I have, as previously mentioned with the Stadia thing, like I could download like a 30 gigabyte game in like 8 minutes now with my stupid internet. So like I don't give a shit about storage management. I just delete anything I'm not using, and then if I need to re-download it, nothing is going to take more than 20 minutes to re-download on my system. Have you found yourself running out of space, or are you running into the like there aren't enough PS5/PS4 games for me to play on this console that I'm even filling it up at this point? Or how's it going with you?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both because I have felt the idea that like I'm running into that I don't have enough space, but that's only because sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna play a PS4 game on my PS5 because I don't feel like turning on my PS4 kind of thing.
Right.
Like it's more that than it is like I have too many PS5 games. It's like no, I don't have nearly enough PS5 games to fill up that thing. So I honestly am not worried about the storage at the moment. Like I'm sure I will be eventually. But by the time I am, hopefully these drives are still, affordable at that point. So
yeah. You're saying so what I'm hearing is that you need more PlayStation 5 games to fill up your hard drive. I will order you a copy of Demon's Souls Remastered. We can play together. It'll be fun. And then you can fill up your drive no.
When I'm done with Devil May Cry 5.
In other news, Sony patented this really weird thing. That's a banana with some PlayStation buttons on it, and it's what it actually is a patent for this idea of being able to use anything as a controller with these virtual buttons. I don't know how exactly this is supposed to work, whether they're going to, instead of getting a controller from now on, they're just going to ship you a bunch of magnetic buttons and analog sticks that you could just put onto anything and make it in to a controller. But I do kind of like the idea of playing Death Stranding on a banana, or a lot of bananas. Yeah.
You can finally be like pull out a potato and then play on there and be like, I'm using a potato.
Yep. You can do your potatoes. Speaking of people who use bananas, we got the March roadmap for Hitman 3.
Oh, nice.
Which is going to have, the main thing is going to be that there's going to be, this appears to be what they're going to do, is they're going to do like time limited, or I don't even know if these are time limited, but this is another holiday event. The Germany map is going to be, Berlin map or whatever, is going to be getting an Easter egg hunt, where you've got to kill a bunch of Easter bunnies and you get like a techno raver outfit and a bunny mask. This also represents the last of the deluxe escalations called the Satumare Delirium, where 47 is captured and you're in a straitjacket outfit. You've got to like shoot your way out of the rave. So that's the last of the deluxe escalations that were part of the season pass. They're also putting in some new escalations. They're doing this thing where they have like online content creators create contracts for them. So these are going to be, the ones for this month are going to be from Eurogamer and Easy Allies. One's going to be making a Chongqing contract. One's going to be making a Mendoza contract. And then there'll be an Elusive Target and the Isle of Sigale, the Stowaway, coming back. So we haven't seen any Elusive Targets in the new areas yet, because I think the first one was the Forgers or whatever back in Sapienza.
Okay.
But yeah, and then there's a new escalation called the Leslie Celebration that's going to be all rave focused. So it's going to be a lot of focus on the Berlin map this month, which is pretty cool. It's a really cool map. I really like it a lot. Yeah. So you need Hitman 3 as well to fill up your hard drive. Is that what you're saying? You need Hitman 3
Perhaps.
and Demon's Souls.
I still need to play Hitman 1 and 2.
I'll get you Hitman 3. You can play all three of them in the same thing. You just played, how many Devil May Cry games have you played in the last 2 weeks?
3.
You could be done.
I'm in the middle of 4 right now.
You could be done with Hitman 3 by this point. Way before this point. We also got a trailer for Fantasian. I don't know if anybody remembers this. This is coming to Apple Arcade. This is the game by the guy that made, one of the guys that made Final Fantasy VI, I believe. But the main thing with Fantasian is that they built a bunch of physical dioramas for the levels in the game. So the environments in the game are like actual physical models that have been scanned in. It's hard to see in this debut trailer. Here, I could show you in a different trailer, though. But so when they walk around in the world, it's like the background is an actual physical object that has been scanned into the game with little CGI characters running around on top of it. It's really weird looking, and I don't know if I like it. I think it might kind of look... I don't know. Michael, you're seeing this, I assume, for the first time. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's the first time I've ever seen it, and there's something just off about it.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like, it's just... Like I'm trying to find a good way of putting it. It's like when you watch a movie that like kind of has the realistic backgrounds, and then like they have like a random anime character in the front of it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Like it's like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but it's like, neat. I think it's a cool idea, but it's just very off for some reason.
Or like when you're watching an anime and you could tell that the background is just like a photo that's been run through a bad Photoshop posterized filter, and you're just like, oh, you just took a picture of trees and like put it in Photoshop for 4 seconds.
Actually, I came up with a good way of putting it. It's like one of those Instagram filters where it's like, take a picture with like that one character in the background of you, kind of like, it's like that, but like you're holding your phone up to it and you just put it's like, oh, Baby Yoda's in that rock in front of me kind of thing. It's that. That's what it is.
Yeah. It would actually be kind of cool if they had like made physical versions, like physical models for the characters, and instead of modeling them in 3D, if they had like stop animated them. Like
that would have taken so much time though.
I don't know. You could have set up an array of cameras all around them that when every time you moved them to do a thing, it did a matrix like photo from all around. I mean, it would take a long time.
The issue is you still got to move them for each thing. That's why I'm saying it would take a long time.
They had to have some motherfucker build all these dioramas. Like, come on, man, lean all the way in, lean all the way in.
Yeah, but they don't have to like slowly move dirt to make it move.
Well, that's true. That's true. There is one thing they talked about some of the gameplay here that I really like is they have this system called the Dimension, where basically like
sounds like somebody sneezed on a keyboard. Like, this is what came out. Dimension.
Okay, so what it is there you can see monsters on the overworld map, right? And you can get into random battles, or you could turn on what's called the Dimension. And what happens is as you walk around on the map, as you hit the random encounters, it fills up this bar, the Dimension bar. And once that bar gets all the way up to a certain level, you can start the battle and fight all of the random monsters that you ran into at the same time in one giant ass battle, where you can do like super area of attack effects on them and stuff. Instead of fighting like 4 slimes, you can just keep going until you've got your random battle filled all the way up. And I'm like, I like this as an idea of mitigating the random battle system. I think it's a cool way to do that sort of thing.
It's a nice idea until you find yourself overwhelmed and you didn't have enough healing items.
Well, there's that. Let's see. In other trailer news, we got a trailer for I Expect You to Die 2, The Spy and the Liar.
Yes.
I really like I Expect You to Die, which was the like weird escape room meets 70s super spy thing, and they're making a sequel for it. There was some kind of PSVR event. We're not going to talk about all the VR shit because there was a lot of it, but I really like this particular game franchise. So
it was it's a great use of like the whole VR thing. Like, you know, you gotta survive in this sort of like super spy scenario, and everybody would want to do something like that, and I think that's cool as hell.
Yep. I'll tell you what's not cool as hell. That's Doom 3 VR.
Oh, geez, really?
I don't know, Michael, about you, but like I watched this trailer for Doom 3 VR and I'm just like, this looks like garbage. Like
Still Doom 3, that's the thing.
Well, it's Doom 3, but then it's like, you know, Doom 3 is okay, but like, man, does it look old at this point compared to...
No, it's super dated now.
To other stuff.
It's funny because speaking of like the VR idea of Doom 3, I knew a guy who did something stupid, which is that when Doom 3 came out, he stood super close to his television. Like, people can't see this, but like my hand is like right in front of my face.
Yeah.
So basically he played Doom like with a TV this far from his face.
Why?
To get like to get something like this. Like the idea of like he was trying to immerse himself.
Fill up his peripheral vision. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he could be like spooked if something jumped out at him, kind of thing. And he was like, "Oh, it's great." I'm like, "Dude, your eyes are going to be fucked like for years to come."
See, now what I was actually thinking was like, I think that you could make an interesting version of Doom 3. And you know how I would do it, Michael, is make you have to hold the flashlight in one hand, right? So like, you know, Doom 3's whole mechanic about making stuff super dark, and then you've got to switch to the flashlight. Like if you had the flashlight, but the beam was a little bit concentrated, so you really had to like point it at what you wanted to see, then that would give you like one hand that you have to aim and shoot with, and the other hand that you have to use the flashlight with would be an interesting dichotomy, an interesting game mechanic, right? But no, that doesn't appear to be what's going on here. So
yeah, I know that's unfortunate. Yeah.
Let's see. We don't have that many game release announcements this week. We did get a list of the stuff that's coming on to Game Pass in April, or later this month and going into April. And the big one for my money, I mean, it's like Madden 21, College Football Manager 21, Football Manager 2021, NBA 2K21, but Star Wars Squadrons is coming on to Game Pass in March, and I think that's super cool.
That's probably the most interesting thing on there.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other interesting thing is that at some point, if you have Game Pass, all the Control DLC is going to be 50% off. Actually, at this point, all the Control DLC is 50% off until the 8th, which will be tomorrow by the time this comes out. So if you wanted to check out that AWE, but get it a little cheaper, Now, unfortunately, they also said that The Witcher 3 is going off of Game Pass, which, yikes.
Oh, okay.
That's a big one. So,
Same with Bloodstained, yeah.
yeah. Let's see. Guilty Gear Strive has been delayed by a few months. It was supposed to come out, I believe, at the end of April, and it's been delayed until June 11th. No, wait, it was supposed to be March, and it's now going to be June 11th. It's funny because I read this and I was like, oh man, and then I read the reason why, and it's because they did that beta test, and apparently the whole lobby system sucks, and they have to like redo it from the ground up, and they're paying attention to a lot of the feedback that they got from the beta. So, you know, if you're going to delay your game for anything, doing it to like make it better before it comes out based specifically on the feedback you requested from a beta, that's not a bad reason.
That's a good call. And Arc Systems works as, you know, they really like to listen to their fans when it comes to the really big games like this.
Yeah. Let's see. Dead by Daylight is getting some new characters, and they are K-pop characters. You've got the Trickster, who is one of the new villains, like the new murderers, who's like this K-pop star that's decided he's tired, and he's going to get his kicks by killing people. So he's going to kill people, and he throws knives apparently really fast. And then the new survivor is the producer for said K-pop star, who I believe is a lady that gets pulled in with him. But apparently, as a shock to no one, the internet is super horny for this K-pop. People are K-pop standing the new killer K-pop man in Dead by Daylight. So, yeah. Yes.
Stab me, daddy, I assume is what they want to say.
Yes. You know. So, if you want to get murdered by something that's not a K-pop villain, maybe you want to get murdered by a giant book, by a Titanic book, one might say, well, then you might want to buy the biggest goddamn Attack on Titan printing manga that has ever happened. This is 96-page jumbo manga, measures over 3 feet high and weighs 30 pounds, costs $1,400 in yen. And it's just a huge ass reprinting of the first I think it's like first 2 arcs of Attack on Titan.
That's fucking insane.
This thing is monstrous. They've got this lady that's showing it off, and the thing is like as big as she is. It's huge.
That sounds about right. They love doing stuff like that. Like when they made the person-sized Gundam model.
Mm-hmm.
That thing I think was also around that same amount. I think it's also probably about as big as that woman is.
Yeah, it's this thing is huge. So. And last but not least, you know what? Everybody may be tired of Jeff talking about Hamilton, but I'm not tired of talking about Hamilton. Some crazy guy named Guitar_Night 14, basically animated the entire first act of Hamilton in Animal Crossing. And I actually watched a good 20 minutes of this. Michael, it's really good. Like, they did a really, really good job.
So it has the voices in it, I assume?
It's the songs. It's the songs from the soundtrack, because Hamilton
that's what I mean. I wanted to be sure. I didn't want to find out it was just them going, kind of thing.
Oh, no. It's all synced to the music. So, this is
that's amazing.
Throwing away my shot, and it goes. They've got one that's an hour and 13 minutes. That's the entire first act of Hamilton. And what's really cool is that they're actually doing the second act right now. Kind of one piece at a time, and they're uploading each individual chunk, each individual song on its own, and then they'll eventually compile them all into one thing. The thing that I find really sad about this, though, it makes me sad for my own YouTube channel, is that I looked at the guy's videos because I wanted to see what's going on. You guys totally go check out Guitar_Night 14. Is that he's got so 5 days ago as recording this, he put up Cabinet Battle number 2 from Hamilton. It's got 10,000 views. And then he streamed Let's Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury the day afterwards, and he got 624 views on his YouTube channel. So the The Hamilton stuff gets like 479,000 views for Act 1 of Hamilton. Visiting Your Islands, Part 7 of Animal Crossing, 900 views.
I'm not shocked at all, though.
Smash Brothers, 751 views.
Just play Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Guy.
So
I want to say poor guy, but he's he's getting himself out there.
yeah. He also has a Patreon where he's got like I'm sure he's making gajillions and jillions and jillions of dollars. That's not jillions.
He's not making that much, actually.
He's not making that much at all. Well, Godspeed to you, Good Guitar 914, because I'm going to watch your Hamilton. I'll watch any Hamilton. I'll watch any Hamilton anytime you got a Hamilton. I will watch a Hamilton. Michael, we have a lot of time left. We have we have like 20 minutes left.
Oh, jeez.
Guess what time it is, ladies and gentlemen?
I'm just kidding.
I wish. No, we are going to do questions. I've got a bunch of questions, and and if Thunderbird will stop being a dong about it, we'll answer some questions.
Go or whatever.
Yeah. This is we're doing backlog here, so we might have some from before. Do some email questions. We'll do some Discord questions as well. Toby writes in and just says, Jeff and Michael, no questions this week. Just hoping you and everybody at the RSHQ are warm and safe. That was during the cold. I don't know if we ever got into any specifics about what we did. Did we get into little specifics last week about the cold?
We got into small ones. We didn't talk about cannibalism or anything, but that was normal.
Mike ate a guy. It was weird.
Yeah, he was all dry. I had to put a lot of sauce on him. It was the whole thing.
Yeah, it was really weird having to go from like keeping a fire lit all day, every day to make sure that you didn't drop into like sub 10-degree temperatures to filling up buckets of water so that you could flush the toilet. It's like, it was bad. I didn't like it.
The whole thing.
I didn't like it. And I bet that's what broke my fucking dishwasher, to be honest. I would be willing to bet you that the problem with my dishwasher...
I was going to bring up something. Apparently some people are saying that because of the way like some stuff melted, a lot of soot and stuff might have gotten into people's like pipes and stuff and fucking up water pressure. So I don't know. That could be a whole thing.
My hot water in my shower, the hot water in my house is now completely inconsistent. Like in my shower, if I turn it on hot, it's like it comes out at like a quarter of the strength it used to. Now I've got a really fancy shower head that could do some cool stuff. So it's like, okay, but I really don't want to have a plumber come out and be like, can you look at every one of my things and make sure, like, because like in my bathroom, when I turn it to hot, it's like fine. But in my kitchen, when I turn it to hot, it like the amount of pressure coming out of my kitchen faucet goes to like half of what it was before. And it wasn't like that before. So, I don't want to.
I'll see if I can find that thing and send it to you or whatever.
I mean, like, the thing is, I don't know what to do with my... They were like, unplug your dishwasher and plug it back in. I'm like, it's fucking glued into the cabinet. I don't know where the plug on this thing is. And then I called a plumber. Wait, I'm just going to go right briefly. Then I called a plumber today, and I was like, hey, I need somebody to come out and look at my faucets and also my dishwasher. And they were like, okay, we can do that. We'll be there on the 16th, which is 12 days from today. And I was like, oh, right. Everybody's got plumbing problems because of the fucking dumbass ice storm that are... Ooh, Texas! You son of a bitch!
Can't find plumbers. They're too busy fighting Koopas.
Called it's Bowser. It's a motherfucking Doug Bowser. He's keeping all the plumbers too busy to foil his nefarious plots.
It always comes back to him.
I'm going to call this the Doug Bowser Memorial Podcast. Marcus writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael, Masters of Rage, disciples of Dongacles. About 4 months ago, I began and stopped playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition because I did not find the gameplay fun. After watching Starship Troopers a month ago, I was reminded of Gears of War. I can kind of see that. After reframing my experience with Gears of War with the mindset of Starship Troopers bro action and satire elements, I played Gears of War again and loved it. I finished Gears of War 2 and 3 and will play the rest of the games in the series. Can you name a game that you previously played for a crazy, bizarre, or otherwise interesting reason that you decided to play again? What was the reason that you got back into the game? Thanks for all the great content you provide and keep up the great work. in Don Clay's name, and that is from Marcus. I feel like this is more of a Michael question than a Jeff question. The answer to my question is like, name a game you previously played. It's like every game. For a bizarre or interesting reason, because rage select.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was a few games I remember playing just for like, there were so much weird reasons as they just sort of fell in my lap. Like Killer 7 was one of those where I remember I just liked the way it looked, and I had a friend who had it. I don't know if it's like a crazy weird reason so much as it was just a weird fucking game. And I remember I hated it the first time I played it because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. My guys keep dying. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then years and years and years pass, and then I bought it again, and I started playing it. I was like, oh, this is how you play this game. And because I finally realized how the mechanics work, and then I just plowed through that game. Because then I realized it was actually not that long. It's just I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. God Hand is another game like that, where that game just sort of fell in my lap, and it was weird as shit. But it became a game that I stopped for a bit because I didn't know what I was doing again. And then I learned how to make crazy long ass combos, and then I just fucking plowed through that game too.
Are you sure you didn't stop Killer 7 the first time because of that, like that fucking upside down guy or whatever, the guy in the suit that talks to you and says all that, just says a bunch of cryptic stuff to you over and over and over again?
No, that was somewhat of it. Like it was a lot of the shouting from the enemies, like those weird, like the creepy laughs they did, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to deal with that right now.
Killer 7 is a weird fucking game.
It's the weirdest. I think it's one of the weirdest games of that company, and that's saying something.
Yeah. Oh wait, I thought of one. When I built my Raspberry Pi. The first when I built my Raspberry Pi 3 and I got it all loaded up, I was like, I need to test my Raspberry Pi 3. What should I test it with? And I opened up the GBA port of Castlevania. What's the one with that pretty guy with Soma?
Were you talking about the GBA one?
Aria of Sorrow? Is that it?
Yeah.
Or Circle of the Moon? Or was that the DS
I think
one?
It's Aria of Sorrow. I think that's one of the DS ones, I think.
There was a GBA one. What was the first one? Was the GBA Aria of Sorrow?
I think it's Aria of Sorrow. Yeah, because the DS one, they made it say DS with it, so it was something. I think it was just
Dawn of Sorrow, or something
like that.
Yeah,
I think it's the DS version of it. You played the one with with Soma, and then it has the Julius mode. I think at the end of that one.
Yeah, well, I started up to be like, I need to make sure that my Raspberry Pi works. I'll load up this Game Boy Advance Castlevania game. I remember liking that, and then I just was like, no, I'm going to play all of this. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to play the entire game from start to finish. I'm not going to stop until I'm done because it's just that, I don't know. There are a few games that I will, as far as like the reasoning goes, like there have been a few times where I'm just like, you know what I haven't done in a while? I haven't looked at Dark Souls in a minute, and then I'll like start Dark Souls and make a Pyromancer and be just like, well, I guess I'm going to beat Dark Souls. All right, here we go.
I just thought of one because this is probably the most interesting backstory of how I played a game. Was Mass Effect 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hanging out with I was living in San Antonio around this time, and I was looking for Max Payne because the Max Payne movie was coming out. And so I decided I wanted both Max Payne games so I could play them because I never played the second one, but I played the first one at the time. And so because it's kind of like the way I'm doing with Devil May Cry. My friend says this about me a lot, which is that when I get into something, a lot of the times I like to go back and just do the entire thing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And he's like, you do that all the time, and I was doing that with Max Payne. But at the time, Mass Effect 2 hadn't come out yet. So, you know how sometimes when you go to a GameStop and there's a giant, like, stand area of just, like, a shit ton of games because everybody traded that thing in?
Yeah.
That's what happened to Mass Effect 1 originally. Like, originally, Mass Effect, they couldn't, like, get rid of a Mass Effect 1 fast enough kind of thing because so many people traded in. So my friend, on a whim, he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'll buy Mass Effect 1. And we took it home. I was playing Max Payne. He was playing Mass Effect. And then I decided to try out Mass Effect while he's at work. and then I get addicted to Mass Effect, and so it became this war between the two of us of who got to play Mass Effect whenever they got home.
Yeah.
And my favorite is how I tricked him one time, which is my friend was really bad about putting his games away. And so what I did was I just put the game away. I put the game in its case, and because he had already played another game, so there was already another game in there. And so I walked in, I grabbed the game case, walked into my room and locked the door and waited. And literally like 2 minutes later, I hear him pounding on the door like, "You son of a bitch." I was just like, "That's right. I put it away." You could He's like, "I know it would never look in its own case." It's like exactly why it worked.
Oh, man, that's weird.
It was hysterical. Like, yeah, it was just the back and forth of like us fighting over who got to play Mass Effect. Like, all I had to do was just buy one, but I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
At this point, I was relying on him, so I couldn't just go to a GameStop and buy another copy of Mass Effect. But yeah, that's one of those ones that's like, this is a weird story, but that's how I first played Mass Effect 1.
There you go. Let's see. Let's do one more of these, and then we'll do some Discord questions. Ryan writes in and says, "Dear Jeff and Michael, what are your opinions on games that have enough base content?" Wait, what are your opinions on games that have enough base content, no pre-written narrative, and require the player to create their own story? Some examples that come to mind are the Sim series, Civilization, Stellaris, and other 4X games. Such games require the player to be invested in their characters, empires, and narratives. Sadly, I'm not the type of person who has the time or imagination to dedicate to these games, yet I'm drawn to these games because of their loops. What are your thoughts on these types of games? Any recommendations for a player like me? Sincerely, Ryan.
That just reminds me of that Knives Out quote where he's like, "It doesn't make any damn sense, but it compels me, though."
Yeah, I can't with these types of games. I mean, first off, like, I remember there was a time where I played some Civilization games, and like, I don't know, it was like Alpha Centauri, which was the kind of sci-fi spinoff from Civilization. I thought that was interesting. But the thing is that, like, you know, my dad plays Civilization. He really likes Civilization. And the thing is that I feel like the people that like Civilization, they play it and then they beat it and then they start over. And I'm like, no, I refuse to play a game. We're not like, it's one thing to just play Minecraft until you get bored and trail off. I know that Minecraft has an ending. Don't at me. I know that Minecraft, you beat the dragon. I was there. Somebody did it for me.
I didn't used to.
Yeah. But like, there's the type of game where you do that. But then there's the type of game where you like play it, beat it, and then start the fuck over again. And I am not really there for those sorts of games because, well, first off, I mean, everybody knows I'm a game slut. I want to play every game before I die, except for the bad ones that are on Steam. But I want to play every game before I die. So I'm just not interested in playing any one game over and over and over again. And then when I do play a game, I want to be told a story these days. Like, unless there are some games where the gameplay is so good, like Dead Cells or something like that, where I can like forget that I don't need a story. I can just play this, right? Okay. But like, for the most part, I need a story. I need a narrative. I don't want to build my own narrative. And 4X games also tend to be really complicated, and I never developed the skill at playing them. So every time I play them, I just feel like I'm doing badly the entire time. I never feel like I'm doing well. Like in Civilization, I don't want to go to war with anybody. I just want them to leave me the fuck alone while I develop space shuttles and shit. And they're just like, no, I'm Gandhi. I'm here to take your land. And I'm like, no, stop it, Gandhi. I don't want to have to make tanks. I just want to build the space stations. I don't know. You don't play these sorts of games either? Or do you?
Well,
I've never
really
think I've heard about them.
Well, I've never really played any of the civilization type games because I get bored of those real fast.
Yeah,
because a lot of it's like build your own like utopia or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't like this. I'm not a big fan of the super overworld type things where it's like where you point at something to be like build something here. Like, I'm not super big fan of those, and yeah, also because they don't really have stories a lot of the time, and you need to have something like that to get me invested in that type of game. I get The Sims, that one I get. I don't really have time for The Sims the way I would have when I was younger, because I remember the first time I played the original Sims, it blew my mind. I was like, this is really cool. You can make your own little family here or whatever, and at the time you could add mods and stuff, so you can give them like weird outfits and shit.
Yeah.
And I can get that because it's a little relaxing, and it's almost like a pet. It's almost like a goldfish. You basically come back and you check up on it. It's either dead in the corner, or you make sure that it's fed kind of thing. It's like a Tamagotchi, except it has its own like work life situation kind of thing. And so I get that aspect, and I'm not bad with coming up with my own weird story reasons for things, but usually I do those around games that already have a framework. Like I used to make up like random bullshit when I played Grand Theft Auto kind of thing. Same with some of the Spider-Man games where I'm like, I'm going to use this specific suit because of this weird story reason in my head, kind of thing. But it's never like extended to like a game where there was no story to begin with.
Yeah, I think I actually just realized before anybody gets on my nuts, Kerbal is like that. Kerbal Space Program is a pure, can you do it, make up your own story. They have some story-based missions, but for the most part, it's more of just like, you do it. You figure out what you want to do. What do you want to do? You'll go to the moon over and over again? Go to the moon over and over again. We don't give a shit. Do whatever you feel like. But Kerbal Space Program, I feel like it's a different set of brain than 4X games. It's not this like, I gotta set my agrarian goals and try to expand research into this quadrant in order to get enough blah blah blah. It's like, I don't know, can you get enough thrusters so that your Frankensteins don't blow up when they're like 3 feet off the ground? And I'm like, yes, that is what I want to do. That is what I want to do. So, sorry, Ryan, I don't think either one of us have any real recommendations. I also did like when I was making Sim Jeff for the Star Wars videos that I made, where I made Sim Jeff, the YouTuber lone wolf, who then just like I tried to make him go out in the world and he like talked to people, and then he got really nervous and sleepy, and then he peed himself and went home, and I was like, Jesus. Yep. Okay. Cool. That's about it. So, let's see here. Where these are December. Okay, let's do some Discord questions here. I apologize if I can't remember what all we have done, but this one comes in from Commissar GT, who says, "Dear Jeff and Michael, Ghost of Tsushima. I recently received Ghost of Tsushima as an early Christmas gift and have been enjoying it for the most part. However, I noticed a lot of similarities between Ghost and two other Sony exclusives, namely Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone. All three of these games are character-focused, open-world games with light skill trees and a mix of extremely scripted and generic task-based quests. Do you think Sony has found a mold it likes and becoming like Ubisoft, or am I just going crazy? And which of these games do you think is the best at what it does? I'm a major simp for Aloy, and I'm interested and invested in Horizon storyline, so I'm biased in that direction. Sincerely, Commissar GT. And I just realized that Spider-Man and Death Stranding could fit into this category as well. I think that the difference between those games and something like what I complain about with Ubisoft is Ubisoft stuff is so similar. It is very similar. Like,
it's like creepily similar.
Yeah, like the elements are really similar between them. Whereas, like, Horizon Zero Dawn, it has like a certain loot drops, like equipment stuff, and like Death Stranding doesn't have that same thing, right? Death Stranding has like the social stuff that comes out. Spider-Man, none of those other games have like the social connectivity aspect to them. I feel like they all have their own. I think what makes them different is that they all have their own like gimmick.
Each one is different enough that like it doesn't feel like it's the same thing. Like, because like it wasn't until he said all that stuff that I'm like, I can see that being that sort of idea. But like you said, every single one of them has something different. Like Ghost of Tsushima has the whole like idea of just the way your combat is, as well as the like the
it's got more stealth,
the honor, the stealth stuff, all that's like what's the word I'm looking for, the showdown thing.
Oh yeah,
like that thing is really fucking cool. But none of the other games have something like that. Like Horizon Zero Dawn is really cool because of its super gimmicky ways of fighting enemies, like fighting all these giant robot dinosaur things. Spider-Man, you're fucking Spider-Man. Like, that's the gimmick of Spider-Man.
Well, Spider-Man has the traversal, right? You could say like, if you zoom out far enough, Spider-Man and Days Gone have stuff in common, right? But like riding a motorcycle in Days Gone versus swinging around New York City as Spider-Man feel completely different. Like,
well, that's what I mean. Like, you're Spider-Man, where like with Days Gone, you're a guy with a motorcycle, and you have to make sure that you're like, it's also has its survival stuff. Kind of thing, and its atmosphere, that sort of like that and Death Stranding, I think, have a closer similarity than the rest of them do, and even then, not by a lot.
No, I mean, like when you think about the difference between like, Days Gone has a motorcycle, Death Stranding has a motorcycle, but then like what you're doing, like the whole cargo aspect and the like weather stuff feels different to me. I never got super far into Days Gone, but I definitely think there are similarities. But I think Commissar GT, what you might be running into, or what you might be running into with this question, is that we are living in an age where what is in vogue right now is somewhat open world games with some sort of progression, with some focus on characters. I mean, hell, man, I think you could put God of War in there a little bit too. I mean, semi-open world. I was
going to bring that up too, actually. Yeah,
side quests, like equipment leveling up, optional challenges, right? But with a heavy emphasis on this kind of main storyline. I don't know. A lot of those are that way. You know what? I feel like you could even make it. You could probably throw Last of Us 2 in here as well, right? Like, it's not entirely open world, but there are big open areas. You've got this kind of looting, crafting, combat, some amount of character customization with a heavy focus. I think that the main thing that ties them all together, though, is that when I think about all these games, there's a really big focus on the main character, right? Like Aloy, Ghost of Tsushima guy,
Jin.
Jin.
I don't know the Days Gone guy name, so I'm just gonna say Days Gone guy.
Sam in Death
Stranding. Yeah, Sam is that guy's name.
Peter Parker and Spider-Man, right? Like, so all of them have a very strong main character for you to connect with, which I think is something that a lot of, like the Ubisoft games, that's one of the things that I think is missing and has been missing for a while from the Ubisoft games, is like, yes, people connected a lot with like, say, Ezio, right? But by the time you when you get to something like The Division, well, you don't have a main character in The Division because you make your own character. Watch Dogs Legion, you got Magda Magnets. I mean, obviously the best character in video games, but for the most part, it's like they decentralized their characters. Like, one of the reasons that I liked Watch Dogs 2 so much was because I loved Marcus, and then Watch Dogs Legion just didn't have a main character, and so there was nothing to grab onto there. And so I think if you need you need a character personality to grab onto, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just how it is. Like, it's how I was with Assassin's Creed. When Assassin's Creed 4, I think, was the last time I really cared about some of the assassin character. But even then, what happened was that I realized that there was no central reason as to why I was going into the Animus to begin with. Yeah, and I still don't feel like they've given a reason as to why you're doing Animus shit to begin with. Well, I feel like they should just drop the Animus thing if that's like, there's no character reason for why you want to do all that stuff.
Well, I think there is now with that character, that archaeologist Templar lady that's been like she was in Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey, and then in the Viking one. But like, after they wrote Adam Sandler out in 3, like,
yes, Adam Sandler North.
Yeah.
Desmond, that's right.
Desmond. Like 4 and Unity and the ones that came after
Unity,
that.
Syndicate, and then
I guess
after that, but yeah.
They had those weird like first person, you're a nameless employee at Abstergo sections where it was like It's the shit that we hear about, that they got obsessed with this idea that you have to be able to inject yourself into the game, and that's going to make the game better. And I firmly disagree with that statement, because I don't think that, like, Michael, would you like Spider-Man better if you were able to customize the character in Spider-Man so that it was you, and then it was like a kind of generic Spider-Man story, but it's your face in the Spider-Man suit?
I'm not the person you should be asking that question to, though.
I don't know. I'd rather play a Peter Parker story.
I would. Oh, that's the thing is, I would want both. I would like when you describe that, I'd be like, that would be really cool. Like, I wouldn't say no to that, but that's only because I'd want to be Spider-Man. But that's a whole thing. No, I get it though. That's the thing is like, well, the issue comes down to the fact that like if that was the case, I would be disappointed by the story. Like, of course, but when it comes, but it has to make sense for it would have to be something I really liked for that to be the thing. Like if like Spider-Man's a bad example, but if you said the same thing with like Ghost of Tsushima, I would be like, why?
Right.
Kind of thing. Like it'd have to be something that like it would have to be something that I wasn't into. Like, because if you ask that question about anything DC related or comic book related, like something that's an established property that is like so good that you want to be that person, like a Batman game. Like if you ask somebody that about a Batman game, yeah, they probably would say yes too. But with Assassin's Creed, it's like, well, there isn't really. I don't want to just be an assassin. Like that's not my thing, kind of thing. And so that's why it feels weird in that aspect, because you don't care about what's going on in there. You don't want to be like, I want to look like the assassin, or I want to be the assassin character, because it's just generic nonsense, kind of thing. And it's not like, even if it was an established franchise by that point, you still were like, why? Like, I'm not related to that fucking white dude kind of thing. Like it throws me completely out of the immersion.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Ubisoft is kind of a bad example, but yeah. Anyway, let's try one more. That's a long one. Let's try this one. Brian Teabag says, Dear Jeff and Michael, I was playing Doom 2016 on a harder difficulty and noticed that the game still made you feel powerful despite the difficulty. That got me thinking, are there any other games that make you feel powerful while still being challenging? Thanks for the new year and have a happy January. This will tell you where we're reading stuff from.
Happy January, Jeff.
It is March.
Really? Mm-hmm. When did that happen?
I don't know. It's time warp. I don't know. Have you played it? Is there any game that you feel like you ratchet up the difficulty for?
Devil May Cry.
Oh yeah,
yeah, the Devil May Cry series. Because even when it gets difficult, you're still like badass as fuck. You're just having issues surviving. Is really what it comes down to. Like a lot of those character action games feel like that. Because even when it's difficult, you're still like going ham on them.
I will answer no, because when I like to play on normal difficulty for anything outside of well, I mean, Souls don't have difficulty levels. I guess, I mean, like, I know how to play the Souls games, but that doesn't make me feel powerful. That just makes me feel like, yeah, I got used to it. I did it. I don't know. I don't like it when games try to get all... I don't gain a sense of achievement. I do gain a sense of achievement from beating games, but I don't need the difficulty in the game to be high in order to... I don't get a... Okay, maybe here's what it is. I don't get a higher sense of achievement from beating a game on a higher difficulty level than I do beating it on a regular difficulty level.
No, I get that. Yeah, there's some games I think, like I was about to say, one of the other ones I think that's kind of like that. That I could see that sort of being would be the Batman games,
yeah,
or the Arkham games, because like when they're harder, they're not that much harder per se. It's just like you just die faster a lot of the times, so you feel powerful because you're surviving these situations, and if you do them really well, you're fucking badass as hell, kind of thing from it. And I feel like that's the same, like I said, with a character action game, is that it just comes down to surviving it. So you end up feeling powerful because you survived it, and you're still, like, it's not like your character just all of a sudden became super weak. It's just that they all became a lot stronger. And I get wanting to do something like that, but like you said, it is very difficult whenever something like that. Like I never got that sense of achievement or that sense of like I'm powerful from the Halo games if I beat it on Legendary, but I got that sense when I beat it on like Heroic or something that wasn't too difficult. Like, but I get the idea, but there's very few games in my opinion that still make you feel like a badass that way.
I agree. I you know what? I have one time where this has happened in a big bad way, and that is that at one point I went and I made the build in Dark Souls called the Giant Dad. And the Giant Dad is basically just like you get the biggest fuck off sword in the game. You get really heavy armor, but then you jack up like your endurance to the point where you can really move around, like you can medium roll with the armor. You juice up your endurance to the point where you have enough what they call poise that nothing can stun lock you or break you out of your attack animation. And then you put every other point into hit points until your hit point bar is so long and you have so much damage reduction and you have such a big ass sword that like the problem, Michael, is that none of the enemies can stop you once you hit the attack button. Once you start the giant, slow, fuck off, hit you with the two-handed Zweihander, like no enemy spell, no enemy attack can ever interrupt you. And so, yeah, you're going to take damage, but once that sword comes down, like a quarter of the boss's life bar goes off. And you're just like, what now, Dark Souls? Who's the guy, huh? What? You think you're so cool? You're not cool. I'm cool. The problem, of course, is that it takes like an encyclopedic knowledge of how to play Dark Souls in order to get that build before you're like 60% of the way through the game and it doesn't matter anymore. Like you have to do a bunch of like skips and go jump through a bunch of areas you're not supposed to go through and do stuff. But yeah, Giant Dad. Dark Souls Giant. Actually, that makes me want to just go reinstall Dark Souls and play Giant Dad right now. There's like 8 different things that we talked about. Like, what game do you end up playing? Challenge, all that stuff. Anyway, that is it. We're done. Ladies and gentlemen, check out more from Michael over at oneofus.net for more stuff. And mail at ragesite.com. I got to tell you, I only got 2 more tabs open from last year's questions, or last year / early this year's questions. So mail@ragesite.com is the email address. And I got to tell you, the last Discord question we got was from February 12th. So maybe you should put more questions in my stocking. Fill my stocking with questions, and someday it'll only take me 3 months to get to them. Happy January, Michael. Happy January.